What's up, guys? In order to try to mix things up and not make October completely horror related, I try to do a little bit of digging and try to find some grimdark or dark fantasy like novels, novellas that I can kind of bring to the month so I don't just get too lost down the horror tunnel kind of deal. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about The Monster of Elendhaven by Jennifer Geisbrecht. The story is essentially about two characters who couldn't be stranger from one another, yet their paths cross and their lives become entangled with one another. They also live here in Elendhaven, which is a big part of the story, and it's a northern town that's been ravaged by magic in the past. It's riddled with pollution. It's kind of been abandoned by everybody, the southern cities, and just no one really thinks too much of it. Its industry and the mining system and whatnot has been shut down, and it only really gets by off of its whale oil exports. Now we start off with Johann. And really, in the beginning, Johann doesn't even have a name. He's really like this dock rat orphan of Elendhaven. But really quickly we get to see him how he acquires his name, and not only that, how Johann then soon after that, how he just kind of learns his hard life lessons, and just how that kind of shapes Johann into the person that he is. And we shouldn't even really say person, because really this is what shapes Johann into the Monster of Elendhaven. And then we have Florian, and Florian is basically an accountant. He is he's a dandy, he's very foppish, and he's also a sorcerer. But nobody really knows this, and that's, the way Florian likes to keep things. But Johann is kind of, has become enlightened into what Florian really is, and he kind of stalks them, and eventually, their paths cross, and they become kind of unconventional friends. And really what plays out from here is just this kind of toxic relationship that's also heartwarming at times. It's actually quite fun. And the story takes us a little bit back and forth, and we just... we get to this interesting tale of Elendhaven and its monster and this just unconventional friendship. The story has a very overall dark tone, but like I said, it's lightened up with this relationship between the two unconventional friends. It really burrows in so deep into the story that, like I said, while you're reading these unforgivable kind of actions and behaviors, you're just still you're still in this moment of levity in a way. It just doesn't come off overly dark and disturbing. It's very much kind of like a star-crossed lover's tale, if your star-crossed lovers are horrible people. One of the things I really love about the novella is the world building and Elendhaven itself. While reading this, it's like Elendhaven is almost just as much a character as Florian and Johann. And what really drew me to wanting to read this story was the environment it's set in, because it is set in a northern town. There's winter and pollution, and there's a lot of stuff here that kind of just reminded me of Alaska. Maybe put Alaska in a dark fantasy setting, and that's one reason why Monster of Elendhaven really grabbed my attention and made me want to read it. And it's definitely some cool stuff. I mean, basically, the North Pole had been, cracked, separated by, magic. And it's created craters, and within these craters, villages and towns pop up, just like Elendhaven. And the town's, so polluted that the water is just dark. Strange, mysterious stuff. There's all kinds of lore with the polluted water. It's really cool. I would have liked to seen more of it. This is a very short book. It's a novella, and I don't know if I would say that I wish it was longer. I kind of do, but not necessarily another 100 pages. I would have liked to have seen a couple more pages, maybe just about the pollution and the world itself, just because it was really well done. Next, talk about the characters, and really we'll just start with Johann, because he's really the guy who steals the show in this story. Man, Johann's a lot of fun, because because how it starts, he's so anonymous. He doesn't even have a name, he's just really this creature, this thing. And that kind of stays with us throughout the book. Even after he gets his name, we always have, because of how we're introduced to him, we just always keep that thought of him being something else besides human. Now, there's also more than meets the eye with Johann's character, and it's actually a lot of fun, especially after him and Florian meet, and they're kind of doing some like experiments, I guess, like to better Florian's knowledge, and maybe even Johann's as well, because one thing Johann really wants is to understand himself. And then we get into Florian, and Florian's character it's kind of a strange one, right? Because when we first meet him, we don't know very much about Florian. It's not the same kind of deal as it is with Johann. When we start with Johann, we're getting him at his youth, and we grow up with him at a rapid rate, but still we're with him from a very young age to becoming an adult. When we meet Florian, he's already an adult. And he's kind of secretive. He comes from kind of a very famous, prestigious family, but they kind of have they have a checkered past, or just kind of a black mark on their name, so to speak. I'm not going to go too far into it because of spoilers. But I will say with Florian, the reason why Florian's character is pretty interesting is because the lack of knowledge of him, and just the way that Jennifer Geisbrecht sprinkles in the bits of knowledge. You slowly get to understand Florian's character, what motivates him, and why. And I think that's a big part of this story. Florian's motivations and really his past is really what's pushing the present forward. Now, I want to take a minute and talk about Jennifer Geisbrecht's her prose, her writing style, because it's very flowery, it's very descriptive, and it's very, very poetic. It's like really like encroaching on like purple prose. It really reminded me a lot of David Rose's writing, and especially like Mulgera. This story even in itself reminded me a lot of Mulgera. I do think where Jennifer Geisbrecht like beats out David Rose is just all around being able to write a story that keeps you kind of focused and going in one direction. Mulgera kind of felt disjointed when you switched points of view. But here in the Monster of Elendhaven, I do think that Jennifer Geisbrecht does a great job of switching POVs, and even with the flashbacks, she makes really good use of the flashbacks. But yes, if you're one of those people that doesn't like a very flowery tale, this one might be a little tough, but it's not very long, so I would definitely encourage you to push through if that's something that kind of grates at you. There is something as well with that prose and her style. I do notice it tends to get more descriptive and more flowery when dealing with the world building and just, pretty much everything except for the violence and the action. When it comes to the action and the violence in this book, it's kind of quick and to the point. It doesn't really go into too much detail. It's quick and done. And then when it goes into describing just how things look, it gets very elaborate. So a very, very descriptive prose, but very quick and to the point when it comes to action. And I don't consider any of this stuff like pros, cons, whatever. This is just stuff that I noticed. All in all, I actually really enjoyed this novella. It was actually a kind of a nice little breath of fresh air, because I've been reading a lot of very dark and disturbing stuff just recently, so this was a lot more lighthearted. Trust me, this book has its own darkness, but there's plenty of levity to be had. If you're, as far as my 2 cents for the slow and the struggling, I feel like even with the like poetic prose, or the fancy descriptions, I just think that she did a great job of bringing you from point A to point B, that even I would just say for a struggling reader, have fun as well as the slow reader. There is no reason not to crack into this novella if you like dark fantasy, if you want to read something about just, a messed up, interesting, dark yet funny relationship between two crazy characters. This one would definitely, I would say, I really do think this fits the bill for like an October mood read, guys. This has like a Halloweeny vibe for sure, especially because Elendhaven is kind of like that, that northern wintry town. So it just, it fits the mood. Now, as always, I'd like to say thanks for spending some time down here at the channel. And to Jennifer Geisbrecht, bam, big old thumbs up. Thanks for creating something that was a lot of fun to read. This really lightened the mood for a dark sumbitch like me, and I can just appreciate it. And it was a great job at a debut novella. So, once again, all right, guys, till next time, peace.